So life presented a lot of challenges. Um, in 2005, I had a stillborn daughter with my ex-wife, um, and that led to PTSD. There was depression, and there was beauty in that moment. Holding this beautiful baby, there was beauty, but gosh, the most excruciating, heartbreaking pain, excruciating. Um, and I didn't have the right support around me coming out of that experience to help guide. And so it was like I fell into this very dark hole for 11 years. It was 4 years of PTSD getting to the point where initially I didn't know it was there. I didn't have any emotional awareness, hadn't done any of that work. Life just was, there was, blame for other people. There was no self-responsibility. It was just, but I had this youthful enthusiasm. Like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. Can't fail. Uh, but it got to the point where I had to go into a mental health clinic because the PTSD got so bad that I was only sleeping 1 or 2 hours a night, if at all. And after 8 months of that, I was catatonic, right? I couldn't even sign my name. My wife had to help me sign my name to get into the mental health clinic. Um, and life was teaching me through suffering. It's like, okay, guess what? You're this little speck of sand on this giant beach in the universe, and stuff's going to happen. And that led me to meditation. That led me to, at one point, I did a Reiki certification, and that was an amazing experience because all of a sudden, like, wow, there's energy that we can't see, and somehow, and I can feel it in my hands, and the people that are on the other side of my hands experiencing this can feel it too. And oh, okay, there's something else other than this than what I just was led to believe, right? I think had very much leaned towards my father's agnostic view. And that had been one of the guiding influences. But then when I did the Reiki course, I was like, oh, hang on a second, there's something else in this. And because of the difficulties in life, I was doing a lot of personal work, looking at other ways of living, like because the way that I was living wasn't working. Oh, okay. So what do I need to find? And it's, these questions drive our behavior. We have a picture of what we want life to be like. And it's like, okay, how do I get that? So the picture of myself was healthy and happy. How do I get back to being healthy and happy? Okay, so those questions were driving me. Um, and in 2015, I had a surfing accident where I slipped 2 discs in my back surfing, and that led to back surgery and post-surgery. I had internal bleeding. I bled out for 16 hours. And at the end of the 16 hours, the physio came in to get me up for rehab. And I sat on the edge of the bed and I looked down at my leg, and my thigh was twice the size of what it normally is. And I said to him, there's something not right here. My leg's not normally like this. And he said, you'll be okay. Just hop up and let's get you going. And at that point, I stood up and then I collapsed, and he pressed the red medical button right next to the bed there. And the medical staff ran in and they put the oxygen mask on. They were trying to attach the ECG monitors. I was bathed in cold sweat. The ECG monitors wouldn't stick. And at that stage, I wasn't fearful. I was optimistic. There's part of me in life that's very optimistic, right? To my downfall at times where I think, oh yeah, this will work. And then it's like, oh no, okay, that didn't work, but pick yourself up again. And they were trying to keep me alive. And they're saying, oh, the monitors won't stick. He's bathed in cold sweat. Stay with us, Ash. Keep your eyes open. He's not breathing. He doesn't have a pulse. I could hear them reading out my blood pressure. And at one point, and it was very clear. I could see where everybody was in the room. My eyes were still open. And in the corner, I could see the physio. He was young. He was fresh out of college, just pale. And I thought, and then I thought, actually, then I heard them say his blood pressure's 52 on 36. And I thought, oh, I'm dying. This is dying right now. I'm dying. And then this immense sadness came over me, which was that nobody I loved was in the room. And it was just such immense sadness that I'm dying and no one I love is here. And then just before I blacked out, I looked at the physio in the corner and I just thought, you poor guy, you think you've killed me. And then, for me, there's lots of different terms, right? Crossing over, going to the other side, whatever it might be. My experience was that I was in blackness. I was still conscious, I had a conscious awareness, even though if someone saw me in the hospital room, I would have been blacked out. The but I was these ripples just moving out in all directions. And there was no separation between me and the ripples. I was the ripples, and the ripples were me. And then in that, there was this deep sense of myself. So I had no physical pain, no emotional pain. I had a longing to stay. I really wanted to stay. And as those ripples kept going out and out and out, I started to try and bargain. I was like, I want to stay. And then I said, well, I want to stay for my partner. And the relationship that I was in at that point, it meant a lot to me, but it wasn't working. Right? It just wasn't working for us. And we had a little blended family and we're doing our best, but it just wasn't working. I want to stay for my partner, still dying, still going out as these ripples. And then I said, I want to stay for the kids, still going out as these ripples, all directions. So, if you think of a 360-degree view, it's not just on one plane, right? A 360-degree spherical plane. And that was me, and it was infinite. And then this warmth came over me, and from a different place, I said, I want to stay for the work that I do and walk the planet from my heart. And the instant I expressed that in my body, I opened my eyes. The medical team said, we've got a pulse. He's breathing. I was in excruciating level 11 pain. I started screaming because pain was, and that was because I'd lost so much blood. It was pressing on my organs. But I was alive. I was alive. And it, it took me a long time to process what happened because there was a lot of doubt around, did I just experience that? And of course, let's look at the scientific things. Was it DMT release? Was it this? Was it that? And the surgeon said, "Oh, I said to him about, I almost died." And he said, "Oh, you gave us a bit of a fright, but we knew you'd be okay." And then I spoke to a friend of mine who works in emergency and has done for over 20 years. He said, "You went as close as you could possibly go." He's like, "It's amazing you're still here." So that experience that deeply connected me to the questions around what does it mean to live from my heart? What is the work that I do? What is consciousness? Well, what does that even mean? And so the last 8 years has been, okay, how do I live from my heart? What's my work? What is consciousness? And so what a gift, It took me 8 months to get back to full-time work because the physical implications were so severe, but what a gift, an absolute gift.